Hi, my name is Patrick Barcarsi, and my presentation topic is the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. So, what is the Great Pacific Garbage Patch? Well, it was discovered in the late 1980s that this massive whirlpool of marine debris had built up in the central North Pacific Ocean. Today, it's crippling our environment, and the effects of this are tremendous. These massive quantities of debris are accumulating more and more as the years go by. Beaches are being buried under heaps of trash, and more importantly, marine life is being diminished considerably. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch is an environmental disaster that is harming our ecosystem. If we don't do anything about it today, we will live to regret it tomorrow. So, what exactly is it though? To be more precise, it's important to know that there are actually two specific collections of debris that are clouding the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. The epidemic is known as the Pacific Trash Vortex, and it spans from the west coast of North America all the way to Japan. These areas of spinning debris are joined together by this zone that scientists call the convergence zone. In this zone, warmer waters of the South Pacific meet the colder temperatures of the Arctic. This zone operates almost like a highway that moves debris from one patch to the other. So, some might ask, if there's so much trash in the North Pacific Ocean, why isn't it just washing up on our shores? Well, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch is bounded by this thing called the North Pacific Subtropical Gear, which is really just a long way of saying a huge whirlpool in the middle of the ocean. This gear is formed by the Earth's wind patterns, and the forces created by the rotation of the planet. Here, the debris in the ocean is getting trapped in the rotations of the current. So where is all the debris coming from? About 80% of the debris in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch comes from land-based activities in North America and Asia. Trash from the coast of North America takes about 6 years to reach the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, while trash from Japan and other Asian countries takes about a year. The remaining 20% of debris in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch comes from boaters, offshore oil rigs, and large cargo ships that dump or lose debris in the water. What's happening? We need to discuss exactly what is happening in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. So in order to do that, we need to break it down. So to break it down, I have 3 points. The first is humans dump trash directly into the water, microplastics are clouding the ocean, and shipping containers drop and lose their cargo in the water. The amount of debris in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch accumulates because much of it is not biodegradable at all. Many plastics, for instance, do not wear down. They simply break into tinier and tinier pieces. And while many different types of trash enter the ocean, plastics make up the majority of marine debris for 2 reasons. First, plastic's durability, low cost, and malleability means that it's being used more and more in consumer and industrial products. Second, plastic goods do not biodegrade, but instead break down into smaller pieces. In the ocean, the sun breaks down these plastics into tinier and tinier pieces, and it creates this entire cloud that we know today as the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. So, what's the threat? In order to answer that question, we should break it down too. Plastics cannot break down, debris is killing marine life, and algae in plankton communities are quickly diminishing, therefore disturbing the marine food chain. Marine debris can be very harmful to marine life in the gear. For instance, sea turtles often mistake plastic bags for jellyfish, which is their main source of food, and other fish often mistake different kinds of plastics for fish eggs, and then they feed them to other fishes, which eventually die of starvation because of ruptured organs and so on and so forth. Seals and other marine animals are especially at risk because of fishing nets, which are being discarded more often because of their low cost. Seals and other animals often drown in these forgotten nets in a phenomenon that we call ghost fishing. So, even though all that information is presented to you, a lot of people still wonder how it affects them, directly. If all the evidence isn't enough, I'll put it into a perspective that people can understand. The diminishing communities in marine life are affecting the food chain, and on top of that, much of our fish are becoming unsafe to eat. Marine debris can also disturb marine food webs in the North Pacific Subtropical Gear, As microplastics and other trash collect on or near the surface of the ocean, they block sunlight from reaching plankton and algae below. If algae and plankton communities are threatened, the entire food web may change. Animals that feed on the algae and plankton, such as fish and turtles, have less food to eat. And if populations of those animals decrease, the population of the fish that we eat decreases. Eventually, seafood becomes less and less available and more expensive for humanity. These dangers are compounded by the fact that plastics both leach out and absorb harmful pollutants, which in turn make it very unsafe for us to eat fish who, eat the plastics in the ocean. In order to understand the topic altogether, one must address the rumors that are spreaded against it. And before this, I had never even heard of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, which is really strange to me because it's such a big deal. It's a huge environmental disaster that's happening in our world today. For this reason, because of this, it's not very publicized. In fact, a lot of publications are exaggerating the truth. There are actually many rumors spread by publications that say the Great Pacific Garbage Patch is a myth altogether. The truth is, while the size of the phenomenon can be exaggerated, the scale of the issue should not be downplayed. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch is an environmental issue that we all need to know about, hear about, and do something about. So, what's being done today? Well, because the Great Pacific Garbage Patch is so far from any country's coastline, no nation will take responsibility or provide the funding to clean it up. Charles Moore is the man who discovered this huge environmental disaster, and he said that cleaning up the garbage patch would bankrupt any country that tried it. Many individuals, however, and international organizations are dedicating to preventing the patch from growing. Cleaning up marine debris is not as easy as it sounds. Even if we could design nets that would just catch the garbage, the size of the oceans makes this job far too time-consuming to consider. But there's a lot of things that we can do as a people to shrink the size of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. The three main points that I want to share with you all is that you can purge plastic from your life, you can raise awareness, or you can join an organization. Anything really helps. In this world today, we need to be vigilant about what's happening all around us. Environmental disasters like this don't just go away because, we have organizations and people who are really dedicated. People like us who, aren't exactly involved in things like that need to get involved, and we need to feel passionate about these things in order for us to solve the problems of tomorrow. But other than that, that is the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Thank you for listening.